King Charles has a problem with Generation Z who view the monarchy as archaic, and him as the epitome of an unfair society, a historian told the BBC in a documentary that aired last night, Monday, April 24. The special Panorama programme on BBC One asked, will King Charles change the monarchy? The investigation, fronted by Jane Corbin, looked into the royal family's popularity, or lack of it, with today's younger generation. It also examined the royal family's wealth and finances, how much they cost the taxpayer and how much they make for the country. Panorama also looked at the royals' stance on righting the wrongs of the UK's slave trading from the past, particularly with the Caribbean countries in the Commonwealth. The documentary heard that one of King's major problems concerns the younger elements of society, with many struggling to support something they see as archaic and not in touch with modern times. 10 years ago, 64% of 18 to 24-year-olds agreed there should be a monarchy as opposed to an elected head of state. But 10 years on, that number has been dramatically slashed in half, as now, only 32% think we should have a monarchy. Speaking to one young woman in York, Corbyn asked whether she was behind the monarchy and she received the blunt answer, no. The only person I know who supports the monarchy is my gran. Historian, Professor Anna Whitelock, explained why the young have been turned off by the royal family. She said, Charles has a problem with Gen Z, the monarchy for the young people represents so many things that is unfair. It is the epitome of an unfair society, so the future of the monarchy for Charles, and for William, and the popular support which they need is really in the balance when it comes to the younger people. The royal family's vast inherited wealth, with enormous finances and huge amounts of land owned across the country, does not sit easy with a lot of people. They have a lot of money and we don't, summed up one young man in York. It is what it is. The royal family own more than 200,000 acres of land across the UK, some dating back to 1066, called the Crown Estate. Don't miss. Meghan Markle felt second fiddle in coronation plans, expert claims, report, Harry's coronation photo opportunities will be hard to come by, insight, Biden will run for president against controversial Kennedy and Trump, latest, nearly 300 years ago its profits were surrendered to the government to generate money for public spending, now the royals get a share of the profits, called the sovereign grant. As well as land, the Crown Estate owns most of the coastal seabed and some valuable properties, such as in Regent Street, with many of the properties on that street part of the Crown Estate's portfolio, worth £15 billion. In 2020, the Crown Estate made more than £345 million in profits and the sovereign grant is currently around £86 million a year. Former Liberal Democrat Minister Norman Baker is a critic of the royal family and he argues our royal family is extraordinarily expensive, so when people have been struggling to put food on their tables and struggling with energy bills, the royal family have been absolutely raking it in. Buckingham Palace claims the royal family are great value for money, costing around £1.29 per person, per year. A Panorama poll said that 54% of people think the royal family are good value for money and 32% think they are bad value. Lord Soames, a former Conservative government minister, whose best man at his first wedding was the then Prince Charles, said, I think the cost of the monarchy is tiny compared to what it produces for this country and what it means for this country. Charles is an incredibly important asset because he is above and beyond politics, he is the king and he is the greatest asset of soft power this country has. Crown Estate announced a huge recent financial windfall, around £1 billion for leases for wind farms on its seabeds. That could have resulted in an extra £250 million being added to the sovereign grant for the next 3 years. But at the beginning of the year, Charles announced he'd waive his percentage of the profits received from 6 wind farm leases to the Treasury, for the wider public good. Critics say he should not take credit as it was not his decision to make. Royal trustees are now carrying out their regular 5-year review of the sovereign grant. Meanwhile, the thorny issues of racism and the slave trade have hung over the royal family for the past few years, not least with the breakdown in relations with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, with the pair of them both accusing the family of not defending them from attacks in the press that they felt were racist. But in another panorama poll, 46% of people thought the royal family do not have a problem with race and diversity, while 32% think they do. Questions of race have also caused problems across the Commonwealth, with the royal family having historic links with the slave trade, dating back to Queen Elizabeth I's reign. Some of the Caribbean countries want the British to acknowledge the role it played in slavery, although it's been said that the royal family do not make apologies. But it's become such a thorny issue that Barbados have removed Charles from their head of state and become a republic, while others will be holding referendums on the same subject. Charles is quite happy for those nations to become republics and removing the monarch from the head of state. Lord Soames added, "If they want to become republics, then that is a matter for them. I think it shows he is very pragmatic and sensible, and if they no longer want the king as their head of state, then that's their call, it's their country." Finally, Charles is in favor of a slimmed-down monarchy as he thinks it's not appropriate for modern times to have a very large royal family and wants fewer working royals. Professor Whitelock said, "Charles wants much more control about who he sees as working royals and what actually they get paid for by the taxpayer. He is thinking, I'm not just offering a housing association to see who can live rent-free in palace accommodation." Lord Soames added, he is very much aware of the difficulties people in this country are facing. The future of the monarchy is very secure in his hands and in the Prince of Wales after him. But there is no doubt with all these issuers, that the Crown will have to adapt to survive.
Now take